The president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel.
That now infamous testimony of Trump aide Cassie Hutchinson corroborates some of the evidence against Trump, including what sounds like a frantic effort to get to the Capitol and join the supporters that he knew were armed, which we only recently learned from this investigation. It's all now part of this damning record in the January 6th report. And I was just discussing this with Congressman Raskin. We already have about 150 pages of key findings from the report, plus new transcripts coming into the newsroom just this hour. All of it builds the evidence that Trump did what he could to join the violent attack on the Capitol. And why did he do that? Because it was his plan all along. Now, like everything these days, you say, well, I think I knew that. Maybe you learned that. But nobody knew that, not even the biggest Trump critic in the world. Nobody had evidence of that when we were watching it unfold in January 2021. It took the many depositions you see on your screen of some high-profile people, some of whom fought for months to avoid providing their testimony, although many did. It took them, under sustained questioning, under sometimes the threat of jail, to reveal the facts we now have. Trump was told he lost. He was warned that these were illegal, unconstitutional plots.
He delivered to the president pretty blunt terms that he was going to lose.
Pat Cipollone threatened to resign.
I recall toward the end saying, what you're proposing is nothing less than the United States Justice Department meddling in the outcome of a presidential election.
I respect Attorney General Barr, so I accepted what he was saying.
Now, Congress has presented some of that testimony to the public in those hearings. But keep in mind, those were always the shortest possible highlights, the brief excerpts. The bulk, the majority of the testimony and evidence didn't start going public until this week, until Monday with the excerpts, tonight with the transcripts. The full story that we're going to get tomorrow, and I pressed Congressman Raskin on this, are we going to get it tomorrow? He said for sure. Of course, they said today as well, but the full story is longer and it's more complicated. Now, that's often the case in any story. The report excerpts, though, that run over 100 pages, capture some of the same drama of the hearings, with Trump's aides detailing his irate, heated, angry, and insistent efforts to join those armed fans while they went on a crime spree. Now, when Congress says it has the receipts, that's got to go beyond headlines. In an investigation, especially one where you're playing for keeps and accusing people of crime, people who are powerful and might get back into power, well, you better have your receipts set. And I could tell you it looks like, in some cases, the committee does. Because the excerpts show really fascinating detail and footnotes. This is the first time we've gotten into the footnotes this week because we've been busy. But in the lengthy report, there are footnotes that note even the driver of the presidential SUV on that fateful day of January 6th was a witness, a USS employee driver. That's a transcribed interview of a Secret Service agent. Meanwhile, another agent, seen as a Trump loyalist, went out of their way to argue that he never knew Trump was angry. He never had any knowledge about that anger trying to get to the Capitol. Now, a thorough probe takes in all the witnesses, all the evidence it can, and then you weigh it. This report, according to the excerpt we have, states that the investigators found, for example, that Trump loyalist's claim was questionable, and another public denial from a Trump aide referred for contempt, Mark Meadows, was provably false. But keep in mind, Meadows was writing up his book, trying to defend Trump, but wouldn't say what was in his book under oath. And here's the thing, and you've seen this before. If you want to sell books or write things up or go on TV or go give lectures, that's fine. Everyone could do that. Journalists do that too. But if you are summoned by the United States government under a lawful subpoena to talk about the thing you're already putting in your book, and you won't show up and say the same thing under oath, you look like a damn liar. And that is, in less euphemistic terms, what the committee's footnotes and other materials are saying about Meadows and that other Secret Service agent. Now, the claims here go way beyond one set of facts on one day. Everything I just said was just about the dispute over the car on the day, getting to the Capitol or not. This probe goes through months of plots. And many of them were obscured by Trump aides and allies who decided not to talk, Indeed, the transcripts we're just getting in right now, I got summaries here, we're going through it. Some of them are just people claiming the Fifth over and over and over. These are people who decided they were better off invoking the right not to incriminate themselves in crime than to tell the truth.
I said the Fifth.
You believe the violence on January 6th was justified legally?
The Fifth.
Fifth, and executive privilege, again, just restated for the abundance of caution. Fifth.
I assert my Fifth Amendment right against being compelled to be a witness against myself. 2020.
More than 30 witnesses in our investigation have invoked their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And several of those did so specifically in response to questions about their dealings with Donald Trump.
As the saying goes, whoop, there it is. And whoop, there it was. That's a lot of people afraid to tell the truth. Now, I'll say it again because we try to be fair around here. They have that right. It is not illegal, to be certain, to exercise a constitutional right to say, hey, I can't talk about that. Why not, man? Because if I talk about it, I'll either commit perjury by denying it or incriminate myself by telling the truth about the crimes I'm involved in. That's your right. But it ain't good. Especially if you want to get back into government and exercise powers. Why would anyone, I don't care your ideology, why would anyone give power back to those kind of individuals? How about you find a Republican, conservative ideologue you agree with who isn't doing that? They exist. So this report, with the excerpts, it lays out what Cheney just said. Pleading the Fifth is legal, but the extensive use of it raises suspicion. And then you get to the DOJ. The DOJ prosecutors, Jack Smith, they never need to stop a probe just because somebody refuses to talk. Indeed, in some cases, that might make prosecutors dig even more. And many of the people who pled the Fifth, this is super important, they weren't at the Capitol on January 6th. So no one's accusing, for example, some of those lawyers of trespassing or beating officers. Now, I explained this in my new analysis of the coup conspiracy, that the rightful scrutiny on the violence that day can actually divert focus from the illegal, nonviolent attacks on the transfer of power. Take Trump coup lawyers, Eastman and Clark. They were not at the Capitol. They haven't been seen on tape assaulting or battering any officers. But the committee refers them for other potential crimes, what you might call nonviolent but serious felonies. And they've been searched in an open criminal probe. There's Eastman right there getting his phone taken off him because of his link to allegedly illegal attacks on the transfer of power. So all of this is coming out. It's coming out piecemeal. Some of it's coming out a little bit off schedule, but it's coming out. And those first excerpts of the report, and the rest of it coming tomorrow, lays out something that might send a shiver down the spine of these elite beltway lawyers who clearly think they're better and smarter than everyone else and think they're going to get away with it. They might tonight still think they're going to get away with it. It lays out why indicting the plotters is even more vital than indicting the muscle for that horrific and violent insurrection.